Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 8th of December 2022. Just a bit of an update for you to start this off. That baby Will story from New Zealand. Well, the latest I've heard on that is apparently the police there literally went into baby Will's house and seized him. Just took him away from the parents, and he is now under state control and going to be having this operation with most likely treated blood as the transfusion. So I know what you're thinking about that, and I certainly know what I'm thinking about that. And massive state overreach doesn't even come close to describing it. It's absolutely despicable, and kind of just shows you the absolute disdain these people, these powers that shouldn't be, these governments, etc., have for the likes of you and me. And following on from that, and in the same kind of vein, is this whole Oxford County Council thing, 15-minute city thing they're planning for Oxford. And boy, oh boy, has there been a massive pushback on that. Everybody is talking about it. It doesn't matter who you can think of in the truth and freedom movement, whether it's Lee from the Veritas Vincent channel, Hugo Talks, and GB News, even Sky News Australia are talking about it. So this news has got all the way to Australia, and they're talking about it, know about it, because it is just such a massive story. And it's another example of these sort of governments and local councils just getting too big for their boots. And do you want to know what one of the councillors from Oxford said? Apparently, he said something along the lines of, this 15-minute city thing for Oxford is going to happen whether people like it or not. And again, I'm pretty much speechless. Do you think that guy might just possibly need a little lesson in democracy and what democracy actually means? I think so. And again, it's just an example of these arrogant, horrible people that have somehow got into these positions of power, and they seem to be riding high on the successes they had with the whole lockdown, getting all of these populations worldwide to comply with their useless lockdowns, and they just want to roll that out, capitalise on it, and do whatever they can to keep that power trip going, I guess. But yeah, it is just such a huge example of the disdain they have got for us. And I think we need to make or draw a line in the sand and just make the powers that shouldn't be aware that we are not going to tolerate these 15-minute cities. We are not going to tolerate being forced to have certain procedures when we don't want it to happen, or when parents don't want it to happen to their children. These are huge lines in the sand that we need to draw and make it very clear that we, the people, aren't going to have it. And because these people, these politicians, have forgotten that it's us who give them the orders. We vote them in, we expect them to do certain things, and we don't expect them to give us orders and tell us what to do. That's our job to tell them. And it seems that many of these politicians and councillors, etc., have got it into their heads somehow that it's the tail that wags the dog, and I'm here to say it certainly isn't. It's the other way around. So there is a resource which I did mean to talk about in one of my videos a few weeks ago, but I've kind of forgotten about it. Don't know how. I guess I've just been quite busy with all sorts, but it's something called notourfuture.org. So I'll leave a link to it in the description box below here. So go along to it and you can sign it. It's actually fronted by the Right Said Fred brothers, and you'll see them pop up as soon as you go onto that website, and you can sign the pledge. But they've also got a volunteer thing, which is notourfuture.org/volunteer, and what they're planning on doing is doing a huge leaflet drop round Oxford in January, and they need volunteers for that, and also other campaigns they've got planned as well. But it seems to be quite a well-led initiative, a really good initiative, and it's one thing I'm going to get involved with. I'm going to put my name down as a volunteer, and whatever day, they haven't announced the day when they're going to do it, but whatever day it is, I'm going to get myself up to Oxford and participate in this leaflet drop. It's basically just going to tell all the residents in Oxford how bad this 15-minute city thing is, and how they can fight against it, I suppose. So yeah, like I keep saying, banging on, the powers that shouldn't be are crossing lines that they've got no right to be crossing, and it's time to make our displeasure very much known. Now, I've got another video on my must-see videos for you. It's the latest one from the Conversation 3 event in Burgess Hill in Sussex that happened on the 26th of November. I've kind of edited the speech of the latest speaker and got that onto my Rumble. So usual thing, I'll leave a link to my website in the description box below, the other thing I've just mentioned, and click on that, and then you go through and then click on the red button you'll see there, and then you can see a speech. It's by a guy called Davey, who's one of the peace officers, and if you've been on any of the London shopping trips, you'll have seen the peace officers, these guys who kind of look vaguely like police, but done in a very, I suppose, tongue-in-cheek way, and it's just their sort of way of protesting. Yeah, and his speech was really poignant and well worth a watch. His main point is that we're all superheroes, as it were, with superpowers, in the form that, if we make a decision to do something and we really want to do it, we can make it happen. And the only thing that's stopping you is the proverbial kryptonite, which is kind of self-denial, or telling yourself that you can't do something when if you just put your mind to it, you can do it. So it's a good speech, really good speech. And he has got this interesting, very sad story. And I kind of remember this story because I'm not too far from the town where this happened, and probably about 10 miles away from it. So I know the town, I know the spot where the incident happened. I've filled up with petrol there myself on quite a few occasions because it happened in a petrol station. But he talks about basically the death of his brother, and in this sort of video that I shot. And yeah, it's just one of those things. They're in the petrol station getting some bits and pieces around about midnight, it sounds like, and basically the brother got involved in a little bit of argy-bargy with some idiots who ended up punching him, and the punch, although he seemed all right initially, it was a fatal blow, and later on he sadly passed away. So it's a very, very, very poignant story. And I remember it happened about just under 20 years ago. And I remember it at the time purely and simply because I thought, yeah, blimey, that could just happen to anyone. If you're in the wrong place and you come across the wrong type of person, yeah, that could have happened to anyone. It really could. So I found it shocking at the time. And of course, I had no idea that the guy who died was the brother of Davey, the peace officer who I've seen at various events, over the last sort of 2 years. So that was quite an amazing sort of link there. But yeah, it's just such a sad story. Now, I'm kind of pleased to say that in all my adult life, I've only ever been in one fight. Sure, I had a few little scraps at school, even those weren't sort of that many or great in number. But in my adult life, I was only ever in one fight. Sort of just a drunken night out. I was young, I was stupid, I was drunk, and I just sort of got into a fight. A few sort of blows were exchanged before a load of people sort of pulled us apart and kicked me and presumably the other guy out of the venue where we were. So and then that's the only fight I've ever been in. And because since then, and most of my life, I've always thought discretion is the better part of valour, as it were. And I've always, if I've kind of come into any form of trouble, I've either just ignored the person or diffused the situation with a bit of diplomacy, because if you get yourself into a fight, you lose really either way, whatever the outcome is, because either if you come off worse, well, you're going to be looking at being bruised and cut, maybe hospitalised, or maybe even worse, as Davey's brother had happened to him, sadly. And if you come out better, well, then you open up yourself up to maybe assault charges, grievous bodily harm charges. You might find yourself up in in a police cell or in a court or in prison. If you've really sort of hurt someone and put them in hospital, chances are the family and friends are going to come after you through the courts. So either way, it's just not worth it, and violence is never worth it. And the other thing is, something very similar could have happened to me as what happened to Davey's brother. I'd gone up to Birmingham for the day, and then I was on my way back down the M40, and I was running a bit low on fuel, so I pulled into one of the 3 service stations that you get on the M40 on the way back down to London. And so I'd filled up, went in to pay, and there was a bit of a queue, and then this bloke kind of came from behind me, and he really looked like he was going to just jump the queue, pushing at the front or sort of down past me somewhere. And I just said to him, mate, you're not going to push in, are you? And he just turned to me, and the bloke was just so malevolent, the evil just came off him in waves, and he just turned to me and just said, "What the F has it got to do with you?" And I just, he was a wrong 'un, a total and utter wrong 'un. Although he obviously got the message, because in the end he didn't go in front of me, and then I just ignored him, just paid and went off, even though I could sort of sense his evil eye sort of on me kind of thing. Yeah, that probably happened a few years before Davey's brother, his incident. But it just goes to show that had things gone differently, I could have very easily been in the same position. So, well, I was potentially in the same position there. It just luckily went the right way for me, but didn't for Davey's brother, sadly. So anyway, it's a very, very interesting talk that he gives. He talks about his brother, then he talks about, there's a moral to the story. So highly recommend his video, and I'll let you go and watch that. These kind of latest videos seem to be going on a bit longer than normal, so I'm going to leave it here for now. Let you go and check out those videos that I've been talking about. Both will be in the description box below, and I'll be back tomorrow. Tim from Fair Play Now, thanks for watching.